Welcome back to the Talking Rangers YouTube channel. Sadly, we're not back on good terms following a very disappointing 3-1 defeat to Blackburn Rovers. But in some better news, I'm delighted to be joined by Peter Bleksley. It was only a matter of time before he's back on the channel following the great reception he got. And look at this, he's dressed up for the occasion. How are we doing, Peter?
I'm all right, thank you. I've got a beer in my hand, so I'm trying to get over that rather disappointing performance this afternoon. But by and large, I mustn't grumble, thank you.
Very good, very good. Well, let's get straight into it. Let's let the floodgates open. Where do you think it all went wrong this afternoon against Blackburn?
It's one of those old football cliches, isn't it? Take your chances, and if you don't, you'll be punished for them. Although I think up front we don't give Dykes a lot of service.
No, not at all.
No, and I feel really sorry for the fella because I think he's utterly committed, wholehearted. We can see how he puts his boot through the ball every time he takes a penalty. And I would love to see him in front of goal, maybe just to keep it a beat or a one-on-one so that he can show us what he can do, coupled with his heading ability, of course. And sadly, because of a lack of quality service, we're not seeing if he's got those attributes or not.
No, not at all. Like I said, I don't really think he had many touches on the ball. He won a couple of good knockdowns from the balls that were booted up the pitch, but yeah, nothing really into his feet. He wasn't really given a chance to show what he could do. Just starting off the game, I think Blackburn dominated solidly the first 15-20 minutes. It took us a while to get going. Pretty flat-footed and a lackluster start from the R's. Cameron nearly gave away a goal in the 16th minute with an absolutely horrendous touch on the edge of the box, and Armstrong nearly ran through. But the star of our first half was definitely Sonny Dieng. Some fantastic saves in the first half and the second. What have you made about Dieng and his performance today?
I think he's been a real bonus for us this season, a real kind of bright spot. And that one-handed save he made down to his left reminded me of the great Phil Parkes. Now, I'm sorry, you youngsters watching who won't remember Phil Parkes, but for me, one of the greatest things about him was his ability as a big man to get down astonishingly quickly. It was remarkable. And another thing about Sonny Dieng that reminds me of Phil Parkes is the way he dominates that 6-yard box with his catching, his punching, his physical presence. And I think we may have uncovered, not before time, because I think he's 24 or 25, which is a great age for a keeper to break through, I think. I think we may have unearthed a bit of a gem here, but let's just say, he's going to make mistakes. Keepers make mistakes. Definitely. And we will see that at some stage. But look what he's given us in the last few games.
Absolutely. Yeah, for me, bar Rob Dickie in the last match, he has been absolutely he's been the man of the match in most of the games recently. He's been phenomenal. He's so assured, he's so commanding. If you say that 6-yard box, every single ball that comes into the air, he's out there and he grabs it with real conviction. It's something that we haven't really had from the last couple of goalkeepers. And I feel a lot more confident with having him at the back, especially his distribution is fantastic. But what about the back line? What have you made about Rob Dickie in his performance today, and as well just the whole defensive performance today?
Rob Dickie for me is a rough diamond. I love his commitment. He really cares. You can see that, but there are some rough edges that need smoothing off, to be honest with you. Once again, a rash booking, and I think he was very fortunate not to get booked again today. When one of their players broke through and there was a hint of him putting an arm out to grab the opposition player's arm. So he needs to mature very quickly. I think somebody within the coaching staff who's an experienced centre-half, or get someone in just to kind of mentor him, because he's clearly got bundles of ability and potential. Absolutely. We just want to see that potential realised.
Yeah, 100%. Just moving on into the first half. It was pretty disappointing the way it unfolded. And then obviously in the second half, them taking the lead. We had a couple of good chances. Kane hitting the post, and then at half time, we made a couple of strange substitutions. I think Adoma coming off really surprised me because I actually feel like he was doing really well in the first half, and a lot of creative play was coming through him. What did you make of Adoma coming off?
clearly it was a tactical decision by Warburton that manifestly backfired. Kane should have got that shot on target rather than hitting the post. Could have painted a very different picture for me. Is that close to goal? Hit the blooming target. Crikey, not the post. That was extremely disappointing. Yeah, and of course, with ball going off at half time, I hope he's a very resolute young man, Dominic Ball, because I don't think he knows from one Saturday to the next what or how much he will be a part of the side. He does offer something within his abilities, and he's clearly not a Premiership footballer, shall I say. But once again, he's a player who clearly gives it his all, and I like that. And his reaction to that astonishing goal of his last week showed how much he enjoyed it, and I think is a reflection of how much he cares. So yeah, it was a bit of an odd one, I think, to take Ball and Adoma off, but clearly Kane needed to be moved into sort of midfield and bring Kakai on, because we look a bit exposed at fullback on both sides of the pitch.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Blackburn attacks heavily down our right-hand side to start with in the first half, and then they switched it and they created chances attacking down our left-hand flank as well. I think this whole fullbacks thing could be a bit of an issue. Yeah,
they look very, very lethal in the counter-attack, real pace going forward, and at times we really struggled to cope with it. I mean, Todd Kane getting booked in the first 10 minutes, he got put inside out by Armstrong, and then Dickey got done with a nutmeg, and they both were booked within about 20 minutes. And that really cost us. I think if you look at the last two goals as well on the counter-attack, Dickey was the last man. They're running through, and Dickey really could have, he could have brought one down and prevented one of the goals, because he was booked so early on, rather stupidly, and it was fairly unnecessary. He'd have probably gone for those tackles and potentially prevented a goal or two. But yeah, like you say, he needs to mature. I think a rough diamond is perfectly put for Rob Dickey. He has got the assets, and I think he's someone that will really grow in this QPR side, and I think someone will hopefully flourish, because like you say, he has got the ability. Moving on, Dykes penalty. Did you actually realise what the penalty was given for? I couldn't actually quite make out what they were. There was a couple of things it could have been for. It was a real scramble.
I mean, dare I say it, our decidedly average commentating duo that we have to suffer. And I have been known, if I get the remote control, as opposed to my son, I turn the commentary off, because I think it is so appalling, and I'd rather watch the game in silence than with those two blathering on. But anyway, today my son had the remote, so the commentary was on, and both of them didn't have a clue what the penalty was for. And quite frankly, I'm rather mystified as well. But if you and I had been at Ewood Park, maybe we'd have been able to call it. Yeah,
I think Dykes has pulled down the edge of the box. They were saying handball, but I saw the keeper get a hand to it, so I'm not really quite sure what that call was from my perspective. But a great penalty from Dykes. He's looking very confident from the spot. That's 3 out of 3 penalties for him now. It's like I say, it's a shame he hasn't getting any service, because I'm sure he's dying for a goal from open play. What did you make about Chris Willett coming on? I think he really excited me. The creativity, the excitement, and the directness he brought on was something that really changed the game.
Yeah, because it's not so long ago, I certainly and others were complaining that Warburton's side always wanted to score the perfect goal. And I think you could do that if you've got the luxury of Arsenal's squad, for example, or Man City's squad. But you can only really score the perfect goal if you've got extremely talented players. So Don Ball's, wallop from outside the box the other week was really heartening. And clearly today, Willock decided to have a couple of goes himself and was not very far away. And he was, again, a bit of a bright spot for us in a pretty gloomy, grey, dank kind of afternoon.
Yeah, completely agree. Just touching on what you mentioned a second ago, Tom Ward has been in the comment section that Dickey got punched in the face by the goalkeeper. So potentially that is what the penalty was given for. Everyone just get your comments in the comment section down below. We'll get to some questions afterwards, myself and Peter. So yeah, just going back to what touching on.
just on that note of the penalty,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
I may, their keeper came well off his line and was chuntering, wasn't he, as Lyndon Dykes was preparing to take the penalty. But Dykes just seemed to remain unaffected by it all, incredibly cool. And by crikey, he puts his laces through it, doesn't he?
Yeah, some real conviction. It's going to take some stopping one of those, even if the keeper does guess the right way. But yeah, like I say, he looks very confident
Yeah,
from
I
the.
think he works on the theory that if a keeper does get in the way of it, both keeper and ball will still go into the net.
Yeah, the ball will take him in there with it. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. One thing that I'm still not too sure about this Queen's Park Rangers side that Warburton really is a big advocate for Carroll. Now, I do like Carroll. I think he's a good player. I think he was not a bad signing for the squad, a bit of depth. But I really do not understand why he keeps on playing him in the attacking three behind the striker. I don't feel as though he's good enough in wide areas. I don't feel like he can beat a man. Don't get me wrong. I feel he did better in the second half when he was pushed back into more defensive midfield. But I don't think he has the creativity that we need pushing on in the final third. What do you make of Carroll being played higher up the pitch?
We're going to have to disagree on this one. I
Oh,
think
right.
with what looks like a very average, if that, championship side at the moment, Carroll's a luxury we can't afford. What does he create? And when does he create it? And how many assists has he got this season? I think he's overrated, very one-footed.
He's very one-footed.
And for me, no, doesn't do it for me in the slightest.
I do think he's very average. I think I'd love to know why Ball's being kept out of the side from Carroll. I think Don Ball has been phenomenal the last couple of games. He came on and scored that goal. He came on and played pretty well in the Derby game, I thought. So like I say, I'm not sure why Carroll is starting all these games, and even Cameron as well. I think he's been picked as the captain now, and it almost feels as though Warburton's got this obligation where he has to be in the starting 11. Where I feel like Ball has been performing better than Cameron, but he's still been on the bench. What do you make of Cameron as well? I mean, we'll touch upon the individual player ratings as well. Just very shortly, so stay tuned for those. But yeah, what do you make about Cameron and his sort of recent performances?
Well, he should be, and probably is, the senior player in the side. He's got the armband. He should be the man that is setting the example, both on and off the pitch, at the training ground. And I'm less than impressed, to be perfectly honest with you. You've already mentioned that shocking ball where he nearly conceded a goal early on. We all make mistakes. I get it. Footballers make mistakes, and I don't want to be construed as being overly picky here. But, and of course, the club has to accept it that we are in the situation we find ourselves with regards to finances. These players we've got are probably the best that our budget will stretch to. And quite frankly,
Exactly.
At the moment, in 18th position, with what have we got? 13 points from 11 games. If you shop in the bargain basement, perhaps that is what you're going to get. Although, as I say, Senny Dieng, Rob Dickey, Willock, Chair, and others do give cause for some optimism. So I don't want to sound all gloom and doom, but the players we've just spoken about, I'd like to see better players in their positions.
Well, you've brought me on perfectly to my next point in a comment from Edward Vine. Maybe Faisal Patash should get a game and play that role. I think he impressed fantastically at the tail end of last season with some real optimism for someone that could be an advocate for that role going forward in the future. Would you like to see Faisal Patash given a start and thrown in there in central midfield and maybe the next couple of games?
Well, look what a lift it gave to the club when the likes of Abir Eze and Bright started getting a game. An influx of youth that we can kind of claim as our own, I think is great, particularly, of course, if we were in stadiums, which of course we're not. I'm all for youth as long as they've got some degree of experience alongside them that can metaphorically hold their hand and show them the ropes. If they're good enough, then they're old enough to get in the side.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I can agree more. The lift that, like you say, the young players have brought last season, and as well, Kakai has been great this season. As is a real strength of the club, and as well, it's quite an attraction for other young players who are coming from outside clubs. Like Charlie Kelman, he was very keen to sign for QPR as he's seen the production line that QPR have currently got. Just quickly rounding off from the game before we move on to some of the individual players. What did you make of the last 2 goals? Do you think that was solely because of how high we were pushed up the pitch? Do you think it was poor defensive play? What did you kind of make of those last 2 sort of counter-attacking goals against sort of the runner play, you could say, with us having most of possession?
That Blackburn striker is one heck of a player, isn't he? Cool.
Armstrong, yeah,
I mean,
it's a
Armstrong,
very good player.
what a player he is. Very, very good at this level. I don't know very much about him, but yeah, I thought he was outstanding. The last one, yeah, we're caught on the counter attack, and as you mentioned, he would have upended him, I'm sure, and seen red if he'd done that. But there was no point making a bad situation worse. Yeah, it bitterly disappointing. The ball in for their second goal was the kind of ball that I'm yearning to see our wide players put in. Backstick,
Yes.
their big lump up front gets a very good knockdown header, and lo and behold, they score a goal. I'd like to see us doing that. I'd also like to see some good crosses that were whipped in as well, because I think at times we opt to trying to make that last ball the perfect ball, as opposed to occasionally you've just got to get your boot through it and hope that there will, if it doesn't hit a Rangers player, that there's going to be some degree of, rebound, deflection, and bouncing off the keeper.
It's a gamble,
kind of
yeah,
and take that gamble, and sometimes just to drill it. But yeah, I thought that was an example, their second goal, of much that is lacking from our attacking play.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think you're spot on. Let's just move on now to some individual player rating. So we'll start off in net with Sonny Dieng. We've both given our individual match ratings so we can compare, disagree, agree, what have you. So we've both actually gone the same for Sonny Dieng with an 8. I think he was pretty outstanding today. I don't really think he put a foot wrong. The goal that was questionable, I think the last one was a bit of a rebound, but again, I don't really think you can have a fault for him. What did you make of his performance today? I know we briefly touched on it prior.
On that third goal, he did extremely well to make himself a big, low target. Hence, the ball struck him in the first place. On another day, that would have bounced away, and we would all be raving about yet another great save from this young man. No, good find of the season for me. This fella.
Absolutely.
And I hope he, has a Rangers badge on his chest for some time to come. And I do hope, and forgive me for repeating myself, let's all cut him some slack when there is the inevitable mistake or two made.
Absolutely, as we've seen, Lumley, Lumley had a really good season. He kind of went a bit AWOL, and everyone jumped on his back, and I think he's really struggled to recover from that. So if that does happen, I think QPR fans hopefully have learnt their lesson. And need to just understand that these are young players in a young, new, establishing squad. So yeah, I think you're completely right there. We'll move on to Todd Kane. We've been quite harsh in his performance today. Peter giving him a 4. You give him a 5. What do you think of Kane's performance?
My score says it all, really. If he'd got that shot on target and it had found the back of the net one way or another, he might well have got himself a 6. But perhaps more than that, he's a disappointment for me.
Yeah, I think he got found out defensively early on in the first 10 minutes, committing and being inside, and Warburton had to send him further up the pitch because there was a bit of a defensive liability. Yeah, not good enough for me today. And I think Akai should probably start the next game as he looked more solid at the back compared to Kane. But yeah, just I gave a 5, just slightly greater to your 4. We've got a bit of a disagreement here. I thought Dickie was. I thought he did quite well today. Me giving him a 7, you giving him a 5. What was the reason behind your 5 there?
Yeah, the booking, the fact that he actually should have been sent off, some misplaced passes, but I'm a big fan of his. I think he has bundles of potential, but today's performance, and let's look at our defence today. We leaked 3 goals, so I think your 7 is way too generous.
But actually, I think Yeah, I really highlights to me some of the good things he does do. I think he's so commanding in that penalty area, and he reads the game so much better than some of the previous centre backs we have. And I think he's such an upgrade on Grant Hall. Like you say, yeah, I probably have been a bit over generous. He got a bit hot headed in certain moments and shouldn't have got booked when he did. But yeah, I did. I like the way he brought the ball forward, and he did kind of create quite a few chances. But I think, like you say, quite a few overhit passes. So probably more towards a 5 would probably been a bit more accurate. You got a resounding theme here. Another 5 for Barbe. What do you make of Barbe's performance?
Once again, 5 out of 10 says it all. In a defence that shipped 3 goals, just not good enough. Just simply not good enough. And it's a concern. What have we conceded now? We've conceded 15 goals in 11 games. So you might not say that's a dreadful kind of stat, but yeah, today if you're part of a defence that gets beaten 3-1, I am going to rate you accordingly. And I thought yet again today his performance was way beneath what it should have been.
No, I do agree. I mean, there's 2 reasons why I've maybe been a little bit more generous. Is for Barbe, he did make 2 near enough goal-saving tackles. There was one where the ball was curled round towards the back post from the left, and he has slid in and poked it round the post for a corner, which I think that would have definitely been a goal. And as well, I think it's hard to. You're completely spot on. We did give away 3 goals, but in the way we moved fully up the pitch and trying to get an equaliser, those goals can creep in when you've only got one player in your own half. But yeah, a 5 or 6 I think is fair. Hammerlainen has come into the side in the last couple of games. You've given him a 4 today. What have you made of Hammerlainen?
The jury is out on this player. I haven't seen an awful lot that excites me. Or makes me feel very confident, shall we say? But let's wait and see. Again, with all these players who I have marked appropriately, I think today, and you and others may think harshly, I'm going to give them a go. If I'd been at Ewood Park today, or we'd been at the Kyle Prince Foundation Stadium during the course of the season, I don't get on our players' backs. I do not boo. I do not shout at them. I do not tell them if I think they're performing badly, because I don't think that helps a player of ours. But yeah, I need to see more. I need to see more from this young man, and I'd like to see it quickly.
Yeah, no, spot on. I think he just doesn't quite do enough going forward. He's fairly solid defensively today, but like you say, he just doesn't excite me. But just quickly, who would you prefer, Hammerlainen or Wallace, based on what you've seen from the pair so far this season?
That's like saying, what would you rather have, the flu or I don't know, something else unpleasant? It's I will go for Hammerlainen every day in front of Wallace, but as I say, that's not particularly saying something.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, this young man may blossom into a fine player.
He deserves time. Yeah.
There needs to be a bit of thou shall not pass about him, because I think people do get round him too quickly, and I don't think that's for a lack of pace. I think that's potentially a lack of experience or positional sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, people are getting round him and past him far too quickly, but he's not a slouch. I don't think it's a pace issue. It might be a match awareness kind of thing, and that might improve as he gets more games under his belt.
Yeah, spot on. I think that's something that definitely can be fixed. Moving on to Jeff Cameron. I was a little bit more harsh than you, which is surprising, is the way they've gone so far. But yeah, it was quite interesting actually. Someone in the comments said that. Let me just find it. Somebody said. Not going to be able to find it now, am I? Yeah, here we go. Tom Ward said, I thought today was Cameron's best game this season. I'm not too sure about that one. Do you agree with that
one? No, but then I don't think we've got an array of glittering performances to choose from, to be perfectly frank with you. I want to see more, but this is not a young player in any way, shape or form. And if it's the best we can get to perform that role, then that's rather disappointing.
Yeah, I think sometimes his touch is just simply shocking sometimes, and he's in an area where he drops between the back two, and he picks that ball up from the goalkeeper, and his touch has to be sound. If he messes that up, then players can pounce on him. He's in a real dangerous area in front of goal there, as you've seen with Armstrong today, and it's happened quite a few times this season. So yeah, he needs to work on that. But yeah, it was a little bit disappointing today, his performance. Moving on to Dom Ball, we were both even there with 6. Obviously, he only got to play till half time. What did you make of Ball's performance?
Yeah, decent. But I hate watching football on the television because really, at any given time, you're only seeing about a third of the pitch. So you don't see what players are doing off the ball. And that's why I detest it. I always want to be in the ground to watch a game. And so I think a lot of what Don Ball might have done today, we just simply didn't see because, what players do off the ball is often equally as important as what they do when they're on the ball and you see them on screen. Telly doesn't allow us to do that.
I think that's especially well with Dykes and Bon. I think they're two strikers that, like you say, you don't see how hard they work. They run themselves into the ground, and you do feel a bit disappointed for them when they don't get the service that they warrant. They're working hard, trying to meet the ball, but our side just isn't creating the chances of getting the ball to them in any real dangerous areas. Just moving on, Adoma, again, he only played a half, but I thought he was a pretty bright spark in the first half.
Yes, couple of mistimed tackles. Again, a senior player who needs to be taking a lot of responsibility on his shoulders for how the side is performing. And I hope he's a consummate professional, setting an example to the younger players. I wanted to see more, but 6 out of 10 kind of sums it up. I'm not being overly critical. There were some moments of creativity, but alas, not enough.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Moving on to Tom Carroll, we've already had a say about Carroll and the side, both being quite harsh with a 4, but I feel like he just didn't do enough today. And as well for Carroll, having him, sometimes in the defensive role, he's not physical enough. He doesn't have the presence. He has a small frame. I don't feel like his timing in terms of tackling is too good. I just don't fully understand why he's been starting all these games. I think, like I said, I'm kind of repeating myself, but I think he's a good squad player to have. A couple of injuries, you can see why it'd be fairly useful to chuck in the midfield, but he's just not my go-to. And I think, to be honest, Ball is just a better player all around.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that front. What does he give? When does he unlock a defence? And I'm sick to death of people talking about his sweet left foot and his ability to create and all of that, and because I simply do not see it. I see him choosing wrong options frequently, and I don't know when he's going to unlock a defence for us. Now, a luxury we can't afford.
I agree. There was one, I don't remember quite the chance, where I think he's been cut in from the right-hand side. He's got the right opportunity to take a shot on his left foot. He didn't pull that trigger. He then turned around onto his right foot, and the defender simply showed him towards the byline. He took it, and obviously his right foot is not good enough. He doesn't even trust his right foot. And it's just sometimes, like you say, he just makes the wrong decisions. It's really agonizing to watch. But yeah, let's move on. Ilias Chair. I gave him a 6. You gave him a 7. You must have been pretty happy with his performance today.
Started very brightly. I thought for the first few minutes he was very, very good. There were some errors, but he seems to he brings something different and creative and a bit unpredictable. And if it's a bit unpredictable for us watching it, then it must be a bit unpredictable for the opposition defence. And I thought he did okay today. Was it perfect? No, not by any stretch of the imagination. But consequently, he gets a 7 from me.
Yeah, I was satisfied. There wasn't anything exceptional from him today. The last couple of games you've seen the real quality he's got against Cardiff. He was phenomenal. So he didn't really quite bring that that creativity, that end product today. But yeah, I wouldn't say I was disappointed with his performance. Moving up top, Lyndon Dykes. We both given him a 7, following his good penalty and his good work. His good work ethic. What did you overall make about his performance?
You need to give him a haircut in this picture.
Yeah, sorry. Let me just get back on Photoshop.
Yeah, I like Lyndon Dykes. I think there's a level of commitment there and a willingness to make a success of his career. I love the brazen way he just strides up and smacks these penalties in the manner that he does. One day he's going to hit the bar or the post or the keeper square on, I'm sure. But yeah, I like him. And as we said earlier on in the show, I just can't wait to see him in front of goal with it either landing on his nut or falling at his feet with maybe only a keeper to beat.
Yeah, spot on. I'm just going to touch on a question we had, just following on from what you've just said there. Where is it now? Yeah, here we go. From Harrison Thomas. Everyone get your questions in for Peter in the comments. Lyndon Dykes or Macaulay Bonne? Who is your go-to man if you were picking the starting 11?
Lyndon Dykes. Lyndon Dykes. Lyndon Dykes. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And the best is yet to come from this player. I'm utterly convinced of that. He's better in the air. I think he brings players into the game. Bonne is a bit more of, shall we say, a selfish goal scorer, and that's not a criticism. It's just the type of player that he is. And I think Lyndon Dykes, I mean, sometimes Dykes has us defending so high up the pitch because he's chasing down goalkeepers and he's running to and fro across the opposition back four, hassling them, nibbling at them, putting in a full-blown challenge when he can. He's a real willing horse. So for me, yeah, no doubt about it. Lyndon Dykes all the way.
Yeah, you're a strong advocate. To be honest, I favour the same way. What did you make of Lyndon Dykes and Macaulay Bonne when they were put up front together? Would you still opt for Dykes up front on his own, or did you think they were a good partnership?
Yeah, but it means a completely different style of play, doesn't it? If we're gonna play them up front together, and then are you going to ask Bonne to play off Dykes if they're playing up front in a better side? If we had a better side, I'd be quite up for that. I think that might be some kind of pairing. But at the moment, we're either not a good enough side or we're not playing well enough to be able to have that luxury, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Just touching on a comment from Big D London. We never get anything at Blackburn. Always grim up there. It's true. That's now 8 out of 9 games you've lost to Blackburn away from home. So yeah, maybe we should have seen that one coming, but disappointing today. I'm just going to touch upon some more generic questions outside of today's game. What have you made of QPR this season? Just from their overall start, the style of play. What is your kind of general consensus as to how it's been so far, not just from this game?
Poor, to be honest with you. I know the 2 back-to-back wins were very nice, but we sit 18th in the table. 18th. The table tells you all you need to know. We simply have not been good enough, both individually and collectively. I've stopped listening to Warburton after the match because it just irritates me. And so I just simply will not waste any more of my precious time listening to him trolling out invariably the same old lines, dependent upon what the result is. And it's poor. It's not good enough. All right. I know we've got so much has happened off the pitch in terms of money. And I have some very heated conversations with my mates that I used to go to Rangers with and will go to Rangers with again. And we have some very heated comments because amongst the 4 of us, there's 2 of us that are not fans of Warburton in the slightest. And the other 2 think he's wonderful. And I get where they're coming from. The way that the wage bills has been slashed, the finances have been restructured, no more parachute payments and the position that we find ourselves in. And that's kind of fine. But what they say is their kind of ambitions are, well, if we stay up, that's a good thing. Now, if you set your sights low and you fail to achieve those targets, for example, if your sole aim is to stay up and you fail in that target, you get relegated, of course. If you have ambition and drive and you say to yourselves and the team, we're going top 6 here, we're going to finish top 6 this season. Well, if you set that as your goal and you come short of that, perhaps you might end up mid-table. But they're so that's how I sort of counter argument what I think is their negative and lacking in optimism kind of perspective. If we stay up, they'll be happy. I want more than survival. I absolutely want more than survival, and I suspect there are a few other Rangers fans feel the same way.
Yeah, I feel like we're just at a bit of a crossroads at the moment. It just seems every season we finished the last couple. We finished mid-table. We sell some of our good players. You have a big squad overhaul, and then we go, oh, get the same position. Oh, okay, we've got to go. Maybe mid-table would be good because we've lost a lot of players. You bought new players. It can take time for them to gel. Comes to the end of last season, the same thing again. We didn't really get to building it because we had another big squad overhaul. When is it going to be? We get to the point where we can keep the core, add a couple, and try and build upon that. It's a very frustrating time being a QPR fan. Like you say, it's quite a few seasons now of just mediocrity. When are we going to be able to push on towards the up end of the play? Don't necessarily want to go up because I don't think we're ready for that. Just to flirt with the playoffs and just enjoy supporting the club, seeing us do well would be something I'd really enjoy. But I feel like we're quite a way off from that this season. But so just touching on that, do you still think Warburton is the man?
So if we were to get rid of him, and I'm sure then that's not in their thinking at all at the moment, and I understand that. But you have to remember, you're not just getting rid of a manager; you're getting rid of an entire backroom staff.
Absolutely,
his staff, the people he's brought in, and all these contracts have to be paid up, which is rather bizarre, but they do. So getting rid of a manager would cost the club an absolute fortune, I'm sure. Probably a fortune that we simply do not have.
Yeah, that's completely right. And as well, this is the one thing I always say when people say to me, Warburton in or out, I go, okay, you sack Warburton tomorrow, who do you bring in? Please tell me what manager that wants to come in our financial position, what manager is going to improve us with our squad. Because at the end of the day, these are Warburton players. These are players that he's wanted to bring in. These are players that you'd hope he would get the best out of. So I don't really see anybody else that would of better quality than Warburton that would want to come to us and that we could afford their wages. So for me, I feel like Warburton is still the man. These two recent victories have been a temporary plaster over an ever increasing crack that seems to be any of these subpar performances. But I do think he will turn it around, and I am hopeful of that.
I hope so. You're absolutely right when you say this is his team, because overwhelmingly it is. Of course, there are some players that have come through our system long before Warburton arrived. I get that, but so many of the purchases and the players have been his. You'd take Nigel Pearson, though, wouldn't you, if he was available and we could afford him?
Yeah, I'll take Nigel Pearson. Why not? Yeah, interesting one.
I suspect his wage demands might be a little bit above what Rangers can afford to pay.
Yeah, you're probably right there. You're probably right. All right, let's round it off with the last question, unless somebody else wants to get a couple more in. Let's discuss this one from Connor Tucker. He's taken us out of the whole McLaren dog and is installing a system of youth progress. The likes of Willock, Chair, Kakai are the key to financial recovery. Rome wasn't built overnight. Yeah, it's spot on, to be perfectly honest with you. Like I say, he's buying these raw diamonds. He's trying to polish them up. And as well, you're leaving, who do we talk about? Centre-half, Dickey as well. They're really players that I think will really grow in this side. And they're growing confidence. And Dieng has been a key advocate of that. What do you make on that comment?
Very wise words, Connor. And I very much see and appreciate the position that you're taking there. I really, really do. I just want us to be a bit better. I'm sure we all do, don't we? I'd like to see us, rather at the top end of the tail than scratching around in 18th position. I want better. I want to see some more successful football being played. I know we had 2 back-to-back wins, and that's all kind of nice. But let's remember at Cardiff, we concede 2 penalties, we throw away a 2-goal lead, and that result could have been so different, other than Dominic Ball's astonishing strike. And Derby, we scratched a 1-0 win, didn't we?
Well, yeah, it wasn't a very convincing performance. You look at that go the other way. He throws away a two-goal lead there. We get a draw at Derby. We lose again today. That could have this week could have turned very differently for Mr. Warburton. I feel that a lot of people would be getting on his back if Ball didn't score that winner, but that's football. So hopefully he can turn it around. Just touching on, got a comment for you in just a second, but just going to round off on QPR. Where do you think we'll finish this season?
In the bottom half, unfortunately.
Yeah. Hopefully right on the brink of the bottom half. But yeah, I just see us finishing mid-table probably. 13th, 14th maybe. But I guess time will tell. Moving on to that comment we've got from AB. Hey Peter, love your book. Do you have any news on Paul? Fill us in.
Well, Kevin Paul is a man that I've been hunting for 18 months. The police and law enforcement have been hunting him for 16 years. So I've got 40 and a half years of not finding him before I'm as incompetent as them, perhaps. Anyway, a man who is wanted for 2 ghastly murders in Liverpool, one in 2004, a 16-year-old boy, one in 2005, the blasting to death with a shotgun of a beautiful young lady called Lucy Hargreaves, who was only 22 and the mother of 3 young children. We've got a BBC podcast series called Manhunt, Finding Kevin Powell, which details my hunt up until around sort of March of this year, and my book called Manhunt, which AB is talking about. And thank you very much for your kind comments, AB. That came out in September. It's widely available, and please buy it. It tells of my hunt for Powell up until the end of May this year. My hunt for him hoovers up virtually my every waking moment and some of my sleeping moments at all. This man quite simply has to be found. I posted an update in September on my website, peterbleksley.com. You're very welcome to go there. And if you happen to look at my Twitter account, you will see that yesterday I had a very public spat with an assistant chief constable from Merseyside Police. And there were some rather stern words exchanged on Twitter yesterday. I have messaged him today, and he has replied to me. All of this I will make public as soon as I possibly can. Kevin Powell must be found. Kevin Powell will be found. And if people could help spread the word about him, that is how we're going to shrink the world for him. And we will squeeze the globe so tightly that at some point his 6'6" head will pop up and law enforcement can slap the handcuffs on. This is for Liam and Lucy, the victims, and he really needs to be found. So anybody who wants to support my hunt for him in any way by just following me on social media, going to my website, or indeed perhaps buying the book. It's only £4 on Amazon, which is astonishing. I mean, that's cheaper than the price of a pint in so many places in London, if you could get one. It's only £4. People have said some amazing things about it, including AB. So thank you again very much indeed, AB. Let's find this man. It's all about justice, truth over lies, right over wrong. He really must be found.
Spot on. I wish you all the best of luck with the search. Definitely go follow Peter on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you very much for joining me. I very much appreciate it. Like I say, it was a matter of time before we got you back on the channel after the reception. Maybe next time we'll be back on better terms. We can have a nice jolly chat about QPR, not a dreary one. That would be nice.
Well, thank you. I'd like to think my contribution wasn't entirely dreary.
No. The topic of conversation was dreary, not your conversation. Look at your attire, Peter. Come on.
Yeah. I dress for the occasion. Now, I'm going to do a bit of nonsense on Twitter a little bit later on. So it's my pathetic attempts at humour to lift the mood during these challenging times, because, low mood loneliness and all these things are becoming real issues for many people. So I just try and I take the mickey out of myself, and hopefully it will entertain some people. But I've started speaking to my agent today. I'm going to try and set up something that we'll do twice a week, a Zoom, a big Zoom, where people, you know, who don't know me and all that stuff, people who might be isolated on their own, can just join in and have a natter and have some company for an hour and a half or so. So they feel connected with people. I did it last night just as a trial run, and it went really well. One guy on there hadn't spoken to anybody other than people working in the supermarket since February. And last night, he and I and a few others all had a bit of a chat, and it really worked for everybody. We laughed, we got a lot out of it. We discussed all manner of things, from politics to football to relationships to you name it. And so yeah, I'm very concerned about mental health issues, because I've had mental health catastrophes myself in the past. Yeah. So if anybody's watching and you're having your struggles, please, you know, talking is really good. And I wish everybody all the very best through this lockdown period. Any key workers out there, we adore you. Thank you, no matter what role you're performing. Charlie, thank you so much for having me on. Come on, you R's. We all love them, don't we? We want them to do well. And yeah, thanks, Charlie. It's been an honour.
No, my pleasure. Thank you very much for joining me, Peter. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. Very much appreciate it. Stay tuned. I'm sure, again, in the future, if you guys want it, Peter will be back. So yeah, all the best. Try to stay positive. Lockdown. Enjoy your beer, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you later, Peter. Thank you.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a nice evening, everyone.